am looking forward to having that specific conversation here soon with the seller, the owner of this house. What's the priority? What does it look like? What are we trying to accomplish? Are we going to hold on to this for a little bit longer? And my suggestion personally would be, hey, let's hang tight until we know where you're going, right? Where are you going after Korea, and what does that look like for you? Does that look like I'm just going to live on the base? I'm going to get out in a year or two? Or does that look like, hey, I'm re-upping and I'm going to be there for 4 years? I'm buying a house. Let's make some, stuff happen. Additionally, right, we can divide and conquer. You can have two VA loans in different locations, yeah? So we can have an even bigger conversation about that.
Hello, welcome to Closing Chapters, Everyday Real Estate Tales. I'm your host, Brittany Fry. I'm a realtor, I'm a military wife, and I'm a mom. Join me and come transaction by transaction throughout my real estate career starting back in 2016 to hear about the highs, the lows, and the unexpected turns along the way through all of my customers. It's going to be a crazy ride, you guys. I am so excited to share the past, the current, and then what's coming in the future. Hang tight for the ride. Join me about being a realtor, a military spouse, and a mom. Can't wait to see you there.
Hey, happy Saturday, friends. We just finished up a cool little hike out at Ha Ha Tonka State Park. Say that 3 times fast. It's a really cool little spot where they have some castle ruins. So there's like a castle ruins, and there's a carriage house and a water tower. So like 3 separate structures that you can go check out and learn a little bit of information on. It was really kind of neat. We visited it back in 2020 when we were here, when our daughter was just a little peanut. So it was really fun to take her back now that she's a little bit bigger and can understand some of what she's looking at. Million why can't we go inside? What was here? Where were the bedrooms? Where was the kitchen? And trying to explain to her, the carriage house, that horses and cars used to live in there, and all kinds of different stuff. It was cool. So why is this important to today's topic? It's actually a really good segue for today's topic, because we are going to talk about a friend of ours from our shop back at Shaw Air Force Base. Our, as in my husband, we're an our family, right? Where they were in the water and fuel shop together, and I got to help this guy purchase his first home in South Carolina in 2018. So we closed on this property May 18th, 2018. Our friends were coming from Texas and moving to Shaw Air Force Base here. And this is one of the really cool privileges that I've had, to get to work with several people from my husband's shop at Shaw Air Force Base, is this exact scenario where they have bought, so they've had it for several years, and now we get to make some really cool decisions, right? So what's the connection? Okay, yeah, he came from Texas, he went to South Carolina. Why does any of that matter for going on a hike? Well, he is currently on the way to Korea, and that is the connection with hiking. Why? Because that is what you do in Korea, at least if you are my husband. And when he was there for his year stint in Korea, he hiked just about every single weekend, and the time that I got to spend there with him, we went on some really incredible hikes. So when I think of Korea, that is, food and hiking are like the two things that come to mind immediately. We absolutely loved all of the food there and a good hike. So every time I went, I actually would drop quite a bit of weight, just because we walked everywhere and the food is so much cleaner than what we are used to. It was amazing. So anyhow, our buddy is going to Korea. Now he has some decisions to make, right? He has this house that he's had for 6 years now, just about. That means he has some incredible equity and some fantastic options, okay? So when we did some numbers, we started talking and saying, hey, what should I do? Should I hold on to this thing and see where I go next and, see what that looks like? Or should we go ahead and try to sell it? So when we were doing the comparative analysis, kind of seeing where the numbers lay right now, just from the price point that he bought it at, which was 133 back in 2018. It's a 1,400 square foot house on almost a half acre, all brick rancher, 3 bed, 2 bath in Dalzell, South Carolina, right outside the base. 133,000. What a great buy. And we were able to negotiate $3,500 in closing cost coverage for him as well. So the seller originally had it listed at 134.9 and came down to 133 plus the closing costs. So we were able to negotiate down about $5,500 from that seller, which is amazing. 2018 was a great year for it just to be very like negotiable across the bar, right? Seller is still getting a great price and holding their value, but we were also getting a lot of our asks, and that was amazing. So now, when we run the numbers, just from the sales price, he has about 60 plus $1,000 in equity, and he's owned it for 6 years. So that means he has so much more equity that he has paid into the property already. So after you add what he's also paid towards the mortgage, he probably has 75, 80 plus $1,000 in equity in this house. How amazing is that? So the question arises, do we keep it right now while I'm in Korea and see where I go and then sell it and try to roll it into a different property? Or he's over halfway through his career, right? So what does that look like? Do you hold on to it until you retire and then sell it? But because my gosh, you're going to have over a year's worth of your salary up front in your hands and get to make that decision. So that was some of the stuff we're getting to talk about with this. And I'm so glad that he's come back to me 6 years later and said, hey, Brittany, it's time for me to look at some numbers. Let's have a conversation. So that is a really cool opportunity. And I'm always so thankful for the connection there. And this is like one of the beautiful things, once again, about getting to work with people in my husband's shop. It's because we have that connection and we've gotten to stay connected over the years. And then we all get to celebrate the rewards on the other side. We have another friend from the shop right now too that retired last summer. We sold his house in Sumter, South Carolina last summer, and he did just that. He put a nice little nest egg away, and we got him into a rental for a year, and we are working on getting them into a house in Clarksville, Tennessee right now. And I'm so excited for them because they have so many options available. They can throw a huge chunk at the house if they want to. They can pick a house that they want to customize a little bit more if they want to, get a better deal, get in the door, and then do some stuff. And the beauty is that this particular gentleman, he deployed a lot when they were in South Carolina, and his wife worked an hour away. So they didn't have a lot of downtime to just go and do. And it is so beautiful to see how much they are getting out and about and traveling and enjoying Nashville and going to dinner and to different concerts. And if you know him, he's just like a country bubba that likes to go fishing on the weekends. And so it's really cool to see their relationship evolve and all of the options they have, and the fact that they feel like they are capable of just getting up and going and doing whatever, however. And that was a huge conversation around us looking at a house for them. They are well qualified to buy their forever home if they want to. And I think we are at a point where we're going to compromise that a little bit and go for a stepping stone house, meaning we're going to get them into a house right now that's going to continue to have a great value and continue to appreciate over the next couple of years. And then they're going to pull the equity out of that sucker when they sell it in a couple of years and then go big and go for that forever house. But right now, they want to maintain that flexibility to get on the road and to go eat dinner when they want to go see that concert they want to go see. And I love that for them. I love that that's their priority right now. And it's really cool to have those conversations. So I am looking forward to having that specific conversation here soon with the seller, the owner of this house. What's the priority? What does it look like? What are we trying to accomplish? Are we going to hold on to this for a little bit longer? And my suggestion personally would be, hey, let's hang tight until we know where you're going, right? Where are you going after Korea, and what does that look like for you? Does that look like I'm just going to live on the base? I'm going to get out in a year or two? Or does that look like, hey, I'm re-upping and I'm going to be there for 4 years? I'm buying a house. Let's make some, stuff happen. Additionally, right, we can divide and conquer. You can have two VA loans in different locations, yeah? So we can have an even bigger conversation about that. Do we pull a little bit of money out, like a line of equity? and use that towards another property if you need to have an additional, down payment. So here's the name of the game. When you use a second VA loan line of credit, you have certain percentages that you can utilize. So going by like the county limits on the loans, and then however much your current loan is gets subtracted from it, and then there's a percentage. It's not a very straightforward answer, and it's customized to each county, but that's why you have excellent lenders on your side to help you with that. So let's say, right, we go to Montgomery County, Clarksville, Tennessee, and the amount that he has left for his VA loan that he can use is 350,000, and he has a house that he wants to buy for 365,000. Then he could easily pull $15,000 out of that South Carolina property and a HELOC, a home equity line of credit, right? Get that house established in Clarksville, Tennessee, hold both properties. Now he's got an investment property and his personal home, his residence, right? So this is really cool to see how all of these different things can play out and where we can go with this. So I'm looking forward to that. But I also want to tell you this house now, $133,000, is going to be around $200,000 6 years later. It's not going down, friends. I know we've talked about this a lot lately, but I just want to remind you, it is always a good time to get into real estate. And there's always going to continue to appreciate. Real estate goes through cycles. Sure, it may go up, sure, it may go down, but it will always level back out, my friends. And as long as you have that long-term mindset, this isn't stocks, this isn't wheeling and dealing, right? But real estate is one of the most stable investments you can make with your financial investments. So, if you are looking to buy or sell, let's have these conversations. Just curious how it looks. If you go, you know what, Brittany, I've got 6 years left in the military. I know I'm only going to be here for 2 years. What could I rent the house for if I leave in 2 years? What does that look like? What do the numbers play out at? And I'm going to tell you a little secret, okay? We are going through this ourselves. You guys know we're moving, out of Tennessee and heading to North Carolina. We totally changed everything we were going to do. And we've talked about this a little bit in past episodes. But the reasoning behind that is because we ran the numbers. We sat down and said, okay, if we sell our house now, we'll make this much money. If we rent it out for 3 more years, the amount of equity we are paying down the property, plus the amount of appreciation we're going to have, it makes it so that when we sell in 3 years or so, we'll probably have a year's worth of my husband's salary up front. So when we are getting ready to make decisions for retirement, because my husband can potentially retire in 2027, it's kind of exciting, you guys. So when we are ready to start making those decisions, we have a really good nest egg already sitting in the bank waiting for us just to say, all right, it's time for us to retire. It's time for us to sell this property. And then we have a year's worth of salary. What are we going to do with it? Are we buying a much bigger property than what we're used to? Or much bigger as in, price point wise? Are we going to buy us a fixer-upper or 2 or 3 and start spreading our wings a little bit in that avenue? Are we just gonna buy a generic house and kind of live under the radar? Maybe my husband doesn't go right back to work. Maybe we get settled in a new location. Lots of flexibility to be had. So when you're looking at real estate, even if and officers, I know this is so hard, even if you're going to move every 2 years, let's look at the location specifically and see what does it look like for the future. What do those numbers play out to be, right? Because there's a lot of different avenues and a lot of different things to consider between your interest rate, what your payment is, what could it rent for, how much more will you pay down on it in that time frame, to compound with how much will it appreciate, right? So there's a lot of different things to consider and look at. And if you want to know a cool little fact about me, I'm kind of a spreadsheet nerd. So a couple years ago, when we were sitting in a hotel for 2.5 months with a 10-month-old baby in Clarksville, Tennessee, I spent like 3 days going through a YouTube video and going line by line and site by site to create an amortization schedule specific to VA loans. So I love playing with this spreadsheet where we can plug and play and see if we pay this much extra, it's going to take this much off of the loan. I was just looking at it today and saying, hey, babe, if we pay $10 extra on our mortgage, $10 a month, it's going to take 6 months off of the length of our mortgage. I know 6 months doesn't sound like long in the terms of 30 years, but $10? That is like pennies, right? So what happens if you like increase that? A lot of times what I tell people is if you can go up to the next 50 or 100, then do that. So if your mortgage was going to be 1205 and you can pay, like 1300, then do that, right? Because that compound effect is going to build you a ton of equity super fast. And the lower your principal balance gets, the lower your interest payment gets. So the faster we can start paying down that principal, then you are not letting the banks get all your money in the interest. So there's a lot of things to discuss. And I love using the spreadsheet as a tool to kind of show what could work well and what doesn't work well, right? So if you want to play with the spreadsheet, let me know. I'd be happy to share it with you and help you plug and play and figure out what all it means. And if you want to have some conversations about investing or what it looks like to buy and hold, I would love to just tell you about all the scenarios we've been through, listen to what you would like to accomplish, and see what seems reasonable. I am so happy that you were here with me today and let me share this awesome stories of our water and fuels folks. We are not in the Air Force anymore. My husband has jumped ship to the Army, but we were at the water and fuel shop at Shaw Air Force Base for so long. That is just so near and dear to us and kind of home. So thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to represent so many of you in purchasing and selling your homes. And I am so glad that I get to be a part of your story. I will talk to you guys very soon. Have a great weekend.